In the winter of 1992 was the second medical miracle, and which was involved a second and third degree burn on what hand was it? Left hand. Okay, you want to talk a little bit about this?
My girlfriend and I were over at my apartment at the time, and we had some dried plumes that she had brought over, the tall, dried, weed-looking plants, whatever. And we had them in two vases on each side of the TV, and above the TV we had, or above the plants, we had the hanging candles that hang from the ceiling. And I was lighting those, as I always have, at night, and before we sat down to have dinner, I like to have the candles. And I had one lit in my hand, and she called me, and when I turned, I rotated my body towards the plume, and it caught the plume on fire. So, of course, in haste, I grabbed it. I'm trying to get it out of the apartment so it doesn't do any more damage, and the place is filling up with smoke. But I ran out of the door with it, and as I was running, I didn't realize what I was doing, but the flames were licking back on the top of my hand. My right hand was kind of shielded because it was underneath. My left hand was on top, and it was just burning up all the hair. I didn't realize what was going on until it was over. Anyway, I got the plumes out, and then I looked at my hand, and they immediately were blistered. They were, the skin was wrinkled, and in a matter of a half hour, it had gone from that to just big water blister all over the top of my left hand.
So you went to the doctor?
I went to the doctor, and I put ice on it that night, and I figured it was just a burn. When I woke up in the morning, it was throbbing and very, very painful. I went to the doctor, and he was appalled that I'd waited overnight to come to see him.
So you had second and third degree?
Second and third degree. The majority of the burns were third degree burns.
Okay. So you went on a medication at that time?
You're right. He put me on painkillers because it was throbbing so bad, and I was taking aspirin in addition to, but he recommended I come back in a couple of days to see how things were going, to see how bad it was, because it was so swollen. It was like a balloon on top of my hand. Well, I went back to him, and he said, "You're probably going to." He said, "Well, you're definitely going to lose the top layer of your skin, so we're going to have to cut it off." And they did. They did a procedure. They removed the top of the skin from the first three fingers. The first, second, the index, the middle, and the third finger. They removed the skin all the way back to the knuckle completely. And he said there's a good chance that you will have to have some type of skin graft done later on, because the epidermal layer, whatever it's called, it had been basically drained of blood. It was white.
So your hand was white?
It was white.
And you had it bandaged, is that right?
And he wrapped it up, and they put Silvadene ointment on it, and basically sent me on my way to see how it was going to do for a while, to let it heal. And this is after I had the procedure done.
So 10 days later, you came back to work.
Right.
You went off the pain medication, and we were sitting next to each other in the operation radar room.
Right.
And you were kind of moaning from the pain in your left hand. And well, anyway, a few minutes later, I asked you if you wanted to maybe do a procedure that might have an effect upon the healing of your hand.
Right.
And you were game for it.
Always.
Always. And anyway, what I did was I asked you to think of something that would automatically heal. And the first thing you came up was, if I cut my hand, it would automatically heal. And I had you imagine doing that, and in your mind's eye, where was that picture located spatially? And my memory was it was down, whatever, and it was in color. And when I asked you to imagine healing your left hand, the burn hand, it was spatially in a different location. It was in black and white. There was a difference. And well, anyway, we did this 5-minute procedure, which I'm not going to elaborate in, which I will bring up again. It's in the book by Connie Ray Andreas called Heart of the Mind. And we did this 5-minute procedure, and after we did it, you said that the pain had gone and your hand was tingling. You had an appointment that afternoon about 2 hours later. What happened when you went to the doctor's office?
Well, I walked to the doctor's office, and of course I still had it wrapped. You know, you had to change the bandage quite a bit with the burn. They said that was the biggest thing, was to keep it clean and keep the bandage changed. So I went to the doctor, and I walked in there, and the nurse unwrapped it. You know, they always take your blood pressure on. She said everything was good. She unwrapped it, and she looked at my hand, and she said, "What have you done to your hand?" And I said, "Nothing." I said, "Just what I've been told to do, keep it clean and, you know, keep it wrapped and elevated and help the pain." And she says, "I'll be right back." And she walked out.
So did you think something was wrong?
I thought immediately that I had done something wrong, and I was like, I did exactly what you told me to do to the letter. So
what did the hand look like at that time?
it was pink.
Okay, so the doctor came in. What happened?
So the doctor came in, and he said, and he basically repeated her. He said, what did you do to your hand?" And I said, "Well, I've just been doing what you told me to do." He said, "I cannot believe this." He said, "Whatever you're doing," he said, it's working. You know, and I was like, "Well, you know, I don't know what, you know, from a non-professional medical approach," I was like, "Well, I don't know what to expect here." But he said that he couldn't believe the progress that my hand had made. He said it was something he had never seen before, from a burn that bad to where the skin, everything was basically white, to the point where it was now basically just blood red. And but the pain had gone away. You know, there was the occasional throbbing if I left my hand hanging down too long. But that constant nagging pain had gone away, and I was not taking any medication at the time.
So the next day when you came back to work, you didn't have bandages on your hand?
Did not have bandages, and my hand the next day, or that day that I went to the doctor, went from a red. When I came back to work, and I showed you,
yeah.
It was pink.
Uh-huh.
It was just it was a light pink, and even when I went back to the doctor for a follow-up, I would say 2 weeks later, it's, you know, to recall dates, but I would say about 2 weeks later, he just shook his head. He said, "I don't know what to say." You know, and he said, "What have you been doing?" And I told him that I've been working with a friend of mine at work, and we've been trying to approach the situation from a psychological healing standpoint.
Well, a question for you. When I asked you about your hand, if you wanted to do a procedure that maybe would heal your hand faster, how did you decide to even work with me on something as ridiculous as doing something like that? Because a lot of people would say, you know, you're kidding. How did you decide to even say
well,
yes?
There were 2 factors in my decision to come back and talk to you. The first one, I would have to say, is it has come from my mom's positive healing that she had through cancer. When she was diagnosed, they gave her 6 months to live, and this was back when she was 40 years old. Well, she's recently celebrated her 58th birthday.
Okay, so
and she's cancer-free.
So she was given 6 months to live, and 18 years later, she's alive.
She's alive and well and totally cancer-free.
Was she misdiagnosed?
No, she was not misdiagnosed. She was self-healed. She was, well, that and, you know, the powers above. You know, she's a big prayer person. And
so you believe that was possible for yourself?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. But that and then talking to you about the incident that I had with the near midair, I developed more faith in believing in myself and my own abilities to heal myself, and, you know, whether it be physical or psychological, you know, the powers are so untapped. It's, you know, and I'm by no means professional in the field, you know, but I know there's a power there that is just, that needs to be, you know, looked into more.
Okay. Well,